Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be on this planet. Welcome to our first edition of Talking Football here at TalkingSports.com and here at Charlie Fitz Whiskey's in Vaughan, Ontario. What a place this is. And folks, we have a year-long of picks to give you to help you beat your bookie with two of the finest handicappers that I know of in North America. Uncle Ben Walderman of UncleBens.com. He's been a handicapper for many, many years, and he has helped a lot of people win a lot of money. And then there's the extraordinary one, handsome Howard Kamin himself, who, of course, well, he picks them right most of the time. Now, I know it's easy to say, oh, this guy wins and this guy wins. These two guys will help you. They do win. And they might not always agree, but we're going to be here each and every week on Talking Football at TalkingSports.tv to help you, to guide you the best we can. And Ben, let's start off with you because I think a lot of people, before we get into the picks of this week and what's been going on, there's been a huge trade with Trent Richardson.
It certainly has.
Lots of stuff going on. And the NFL season is 2 weeks old, but it is extremely exciting already. And I think people want to get into it now and make their picks and do their betting and their wagering. What is the best way, what are the rules, let's say, to help them win on a consistent basis?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me out on the show. Each and every week we're going to be here bringing you nothing but football talk. That's why they call it Talking Football. But yes, people love to bet on football. Obviously, they do. But there's certain things you can do in order to increase your odds of winning. Okay.
Right.
For example, first of all, there's no such thing as a lock or guarantee in any football game. There's handicappers out there. They're my lock or my guarantee, my game of the month, my game of the year. If you're looking for that kind of stuff, Uncle Ben is not your man. But if you're looking to earn and increase your odds of making profits, I can help you out. Things like consistent dollar wagers, never betting a parlay, consensus betting, looking at things like that. Game winners in the NFL cover 80% of the time. These are the types of things that maybe we'll talk about right now for just a little bit. Like,
sure.
For example, consistent dollar wagers. I recommend that you bet the same amount of money on every game the entire season. Now, people look at me and go, well, what about those games that I love this game? You know what I mean? I love it. How many times have you heard, Marty, Howard, some guy says, okay, I just love, New Orleans this week. I'm going to pound New Orleans, and I'll make a few other wagers along the way. Sure enough, New Orleans doesn't make the grade that day.
It happens to me every week.
New Orleans doesn't win.
It's a common occurrence.
Maybe the other 2 or 3 smaller bets come through, so now you've gone 2-1 or 3-1, and you lose money.
Yes.
Not a good idea. This is why I recommend consistent dollar wagers. This way, if you pick more winners than losers, you win money.
And you bet what you can afford to lose, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Bet with your head, not over it, is what I'd say.
And don't bet with your heart.
No.
Bet with your head.
If you got
not your favorite teams and things like that.
I was just going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. Not your favorite teams. So consistent dollar wagers is one thing I recommend. I know. There's certain games through the year that you might have cause, to step up your action a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But by and large, same dollar amount on every game because, like I said, if you pick more winners than losers, you deserve a profit.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of my little rules. Second thing is never ever bet a parlay. I haven't bet a parlay in 25 years. I mean, same thing, like a pro line or something like this, right?
They're hard.
How many times has someone come to you and said, well, if it was just for the Bills last week, I would have made I would have made a fortune.
All the time.
I had 5 out of 6 right, but the Bills, they sort of screwed me last week, right?
Every week.
Again, 5 out of 6 winners and you're losing money. I mean,
even a 2-team
this is not a plan that you want to be going with.
What about a 2-team parlay? You're against that?
Well, I am against a 2-team parlay because to me, 2-team parlays are just greed. Okay, you're getting your 2.6, 2.7, 2.5 to 1, whatever, depending on which house you're registered with or wherever you're placing your action. But look if you're putting down, let's say you put $10 or $100 on a parlay, you get $250 back. Both teams win. If you bet 100 and 100, okay, so you get $200 if they both win, not $250.
Yeah.
But if they go 1-1, you lose $10, not $110, right?
Okay, hold it right there, Uncle Ben. Hold it right there, Howard. You're a veteran at this stuff. I want to get your opinion because parlays are very, very common. People play parlays. Do you agree with Uncle Ben that you should never, ever play parlays?
First of all, I just want to say I'm very, very excited to be on this panel with such great minds like Uncle Ben. I mean, many, many years, giving people many, many winners
Thank
in
you.
the NFL. And from the first moment I met Uncle Ben, I know he knows his stuff very well. And of course, Marty, one of the top guys in the city to find people like Ben. I mean, and to actually find the right people. So we're very lucky to be here tonight, or whatever the time may be in this world, talking NFL betting. Parlays, yeah, are sucker bets. I mean, I agree totally with Ben. You know, it's hard enough to pick one winner, but if you got to pick two winners to make money, chances are you're going to lose. Where people get trapped, though, is when they start falling behind and they start getting stuck to their bookie. They think the only way to get even is to go with parlays, and they go deeper and deeper and deeper. So I would agree 100% that you know, it's hard enough to pick one winner.
Yeah.
Don't start looking to pick two. Anytime there's any type of prop bet or any type of teaser or parlay, the odds are always with the house. They don't come out with these types of propositional bets to make it better for the bettor.
100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
So bet flat, bet the team you like. If you can pick more winners and losers at the end of the year, you're going to make money. If you parlay them, you may pick more winners and losers at the end of the year, but if it doesn't fall the right way, you might end up losing money. So what worse way to say I picked more winners than losers, and yet I still lost money at the end of the year?
Yeah.
This is just I think we all agree on that. I agree with you totally. I mean, that's another point that we're trying to project. Of course, people love to bet parlays because it's a recreational thing. If you're in
It
it
also
to make,
brings you in more money in one fell swoop. You
I
know?
understand, but if you're in it to really make profits,
yeah,
it's not the way to go.
right,
Okay.
right.
Another-
What else do you recommend?
Okay, another thing we look at, and it's all on UncleBen'sFootball.com on the website, all these things we're talking about right now, but another thing we actually emphasize, and I know that Howard's really into this point too, Handsome Howard, I should say, excuse me.
Handsome Howard.
Excuse me.
Can you believe he calls
he
himself
is one
that?
handsome dude.
My wife doesn't call me Handsome Howard, but I'll call myself Handsome Howard.
Consensus betting, okay? Consensus betting meaning where is the money going, okay? Because, you know, obviously the odds are made in order to create equal action on both sides, but as we know, that's not how it shakes out, right? So consensus betting, you know, most of the games, there's 5 or 6 games a week usually where, you know, the action's pretty split and, you know, the bookies are happy. But there are certain games, maybe 2 or 3 a week, where the public just seems to get on one team, whether it's office poolies, like when you're in the office hanging around, and, you know, they have these office pools and, like, there's 20 guys in it and 18 of them pick the same team. Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, the people who pick 18 are going to lose.
Something is up
There's
there
just
when
something-
there's too many people.
Let me even go a step further on that, Ben.
You know, your comment on that, exactly.
The smartest people are the lines makers, not the bettors.
Correct.
The lines makers are the ones that know trends, know what's going on with certain teams. They place the line based on their knowledge. The bettors, for the most part, bet the line of what they saw the week before.
Right.
And in the NFL, there's a rule I go by. A team never looks as good as the week before and never looks as bad as the week before, especially when you have a nationally televised game. When you have a publicly televised game and the whole country is watching that game, like last week, San Francisco looked terrible.
Yep.
So everybody's saying, you know what, how could I bet San Francisco? Now this week San Francisco comes out and they're a 10-point favorite. People are saying, well, they looked terrible last week. How am I going to bet them? But that's what happens in the NFL football. When you have a public game like a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, a Thanksgiving Day game where the whole country watches this game and a team just either stunk or looked really, really good, you know, always go the opposite way. And
right, it's public perception, I guess.
Yeah, public perception.
Public perception is what we're talking about here. So, you know, it's very interesting. You keep an eye on that. You know, there are sites that you can go to on the internet that will give you data on the public perception. Covers.com is one of them that you can go to. I use the site all the time. It's very informative and helpful to see where the money is going. Okay, so that's another thing we do concentrate on.
All right, now, Ben, another thing is that I think that the general public has this notion that, and I may be wrong on this, but I know for sure that a lot of people think, well, okay, somebody's going to win the game, but they might not necessarily cover the spread. Ben, how much baloney is there on that?
Well, I've been tracking this for years. The game winner in the NFL only, this does not apply to NCAA college football, only in the NFL. The game winner The actual game winner, that's right, covers the spread over 80% of the time.
Wow.
Okay? In the NFL. Now that depends on the range of the spread, and I know Howard has a different opinion about this. And we had a big debate on it, last time I visited with Howard. And that's always,
you'll have to share it with the world now.
Yes, that's always healthy. But anyhow, so when people come to you and said, like you just said, Marty, I don't think they're going to win, but I think they're going to cover.
Yeah.
The chance of them winning their wager is about 18%, because the actual percentages are running about 80, close to 82%. Okay.
See, but I think Ben and I do have to interject here because maybe that is the number. Maybe that is 80% of the time.
I'm talking about all the games played.
But I think that you have to break that down, because I would say games where it's 0 to, let's say, 3, probably 95% of those teams actually win and cover.
Yeah.
Games that are 3 to 7, maybe the odds are a little bit less. But when you've got a team that's 10 to 15 points, 99% of the time those teams are going to win the game. Okay?
Yes, they are.
In the NFL, teams that... But I would say 50% of the time those teams are going to cover.
Yeah, but
so I think...
Okay, I'm not arguing that point.
It's
That's
easy
what
to
brings
say,
the percentages down from 95 to 82.
Yeah, so,
but what I would say is very few games in the NFL have spreads higher than 10. Now this week it's getting a little crazy because I think the odds makers took a bit of a beating the first couple of weeks, and they're padding some of these spreads. I mean, we got a 19. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later, exactly.
But there are some very high spreads this week.
The double-digit spreads,
and more than 2 touchdowns, which is common for the NCAA, but not so common in the NFL. So we'll get into that in a little later on. Okay, so those are some of the things that we talk about, or I talk about on my website, on the how to win section.
What about you, Handsome Howard? Any general tips before we get into specific selections?
Well, I've noticed through my years when there's a major injury to a team, or for whatever reason a trade this week where a major player comes from one team to another team. So let's say Peyton Manning through the week hurts his shoulder in practice, and Denver Broncos start their third-string quarterback. The public sees that, oh, Manning's not playing for Denver. The other team's a lock to cover, right? I mean, they're starting some third stringer. How's Denver going to cover the spread? But what I've noticed through my years is whenever a major injury or a major transaction has happened through the week, it's happened twofold this week with Cleveland, go with the team, because the odds reflect that. They know the public's going to go against Cleveland this week. They know that because Richardson's off the team. They know that they're starting a third-string quarterback. They know they got to make that line high to get as much Cleveland action as possible, but yet people are still betting Minnesota.
Well, Howard, I agree with you 100%, but that ain't happening. Exactly, you're 100% right. What happened was the line started at 5.
Yeah.
The Vikings were favored by 5. The trade went down, I guess, not even 24 hours ago now, and the line's gone to 6.5.
And it's still coming in on mini.
And 78% of the public, as of this moment in time, have placed wagers on the Minnesota Vikings.
So what do you say about that game?
I say buyer beware on that one.
Yeah. You got to like Cleveland.
First of all, I would certainly wait till the last minute because the spread will probably go up to 7 or higher.
Absolutely.
Okay? And I would certainly not take the Vikings because public perception, as we just talked about,
is huge.
It looks like Cleveland's going to raise their game up here this week, and Minnesota hasn't looked good at all, I can tell you.
Well, Minnesota last week was a heavily bet against team last week. Everybody was on the Bears last week.
Covered easily.
And Minnesota covered. So,
let's say they were very fortunate to cover last week.
But they did. But they did cover the spread. So
nonetheless, they did cover the spread.
When that happens, a lot of times people, they bet against Minnesota last week. Now they jump on Minnesota bandwagon. They lose that way. So I like Cleveland a lot this week. Even though they look like there's no chance in the world they're going to cover.
Let's get into the Cleveland game a little later on, guys, because we do have to cover one of the most shocking trades in NFL history, in which running back Trent Richardson got traded away from Cleveland. We'll talk about that a little more. Let's take a little break. And it is absolutely a pleasure to be joined here today on TalkingSports.tv for Talking Football with Uncle Ben Walderman, Handsome Howard Kamin. We'll be right back for segment number 2. We'll talk to you about the Cleveland Browns, the Indianapolis Colts, and one of the most shocking trades in NFL history. Don't go away.